Again, welcome to the Lose Your Data Management Stress. Let's go ahead and get started right away. So for our agenda items, just 3 of them here today. First, we're going to talk about our enterprise solutions team. We have a dedicated group, so we'll give you kind of a high-level overview of who we are, what the roles are, and how that benefits you. Then we'll move into our different service offerings. We're not going to talk today a lot about specific products, more of how we as Hawkridge partner with you to deliver services, implementations, level up services, etc. And then we'll wrap up with, kind of a couple of different customer case studies, how those service offerings are put into play and grouped together and things like that. So to kick it off, prior to last year, Hawkridge Systems as an organization covers a wide spectrum of products from design through management, simulation, and manufacturing. We were previously organized into really 3 core engineering groups. We had our tech support team, we had our applications engineers that were doing things like training or direct customer engagements, and then we had our product managers who specialized in each one of the core product areas. And what we really realized last year, I guess over the course of 10 years now, is that data management in itself is kind of a unique product. It requires, different implementation than some of the other products, some specialization in terms of, IT infrastructure, etc. And so last year we broke off and now have a dedicated group, which is our enterprise solutions team, that only focuses on our, Solidworks PDM, Solidworks Manage, Innovia, from the data management into the PLM world. And before we get into the, some of the dedicated roles that we have, I thought we'd just give a quick introduction of who Wase and I are and what roles that we play. So I'll go ahead and start it off. So I am most recent to this team. I just joined in April of this year. Been in the reseller channel for 6 years now. Have a mechanical engineering degree. Worked in industry, secondary packaging, so designing, using SolidWorks CAD, doing analysis type work, motion simulation. Then moved into the reseller channel where I've done support, training, did demos, presentations. My last role was a technical account manager, which was really focused. I did that for 3 years, which was working with our largest customers, really as a consultant. Certified kind of across the board in all of our products. So my background isn't really around data management. Obviously, proficient with those tools as well. So really, what I bring to the table and the role that I feel like I play is I absolutely love whiteboarding sessions, understanding your businesses and building plans out for 1 year, 3 year, 5, 10 years down the road, road mapping that out and understanding what your business objectives are and the solutions that we offer, how they'll all integrate together to create that single source of truth environment and seamless workflow instead of just real pointed solutions. So I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sorry, I was on mute. Everybody, my name is Wase Nouri, product manager for the enterprise team. I've been in the industry for a lot of years, and I started off as a design engineer, mostly and then simulation specialist. Wore many hats. My most recent position before this was software development lead. I manage a team of developers, customization, delivering custom solutions for our customers, extending capabilities of PDM, SolidWorks, other products, or creating standalone applications. And that's really my philosophy and my approach with this new position. Basically, we approach every engagement from a developer's perspective. Observe how things work today, bring stakeholders together, form communication, that's really important. Gather requirements for the ideal state where you are or where versus where you want to be. That little gap analysis, if you will.
Gap analysis, right?
Yeah. Ensure scalability is the solution that we are envisioning or you're requiring. Is it scalable? Because we know the limitations. We know what can happen. We can, intelligently predict outcomes, ensure best practices, what other people in the same industry are doing versus where specific customer wants to be or where they are today, and then create a prototype. So whether that's Andy's whiteboard that he always does, or is an actual application or a document or a sample workflow, whatever it is, we want to make sure we have a prototype and then gain feedback. And that loop is extremely important because that brings everybody in the same page, identifies flaws in the system or in the solution, and allows us to make it an airtight solution. And then only then deliver a solution. Basically, our aim is to become your part of your team, your trusted advisor. We will, at the end of an engagement, if nothing else, we know a lot about the way things work on your end, and we could probably become like a catalyst for communication in that engagement.
Really trying to build up that partnership, right, Wase, versus being a vendor. And I guess another really good point to bring up on that one is we see a lot of stuff, right, across a lot of different industries. And so I know that's one of the things that I really pride myself on is being transparent. Like you said, this isn't going to work, this will work, and not only with our products, with other software that we maybe don't sell or support. So really trying to build out those big picture initiatives. Again, looking for scalability and the long-term goals.
Yeah, so, because we engage with customers on different levels, right? There could be in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. I know every customer's situation is unique, and I'm going to do air quote, but really, after you deal with as many customers we do, nothing is really unique. We have probably seen the same problem. We've probably seen the same proposed solution or solutions, and we kind of know what's right and what works.
Very similar. See a lot of similarities between them.
A lot.
Yeah. So kind of the next thing we wanted to do here is real quickly, like I said earlier, was give you an introduction as to what the different roles are on our team, and then what each one of those individuals play and how that benefits you. So I'll let you go ahead and talk about the solution architects. You're real attached to those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the solution architecture is basically the soul of this team. Everybody, we have solution architects, but everybody is a solution architect at their core. It is solution architecture basically enables systems driving quality attributes. What is the whole purpose of the system or the process? It's easy to get bogged down with the details, but ultimately, we take a step back and look at what is the ultimate goal, where everything fits. So architect looks at holistically at the different parts of a team or organization, how they interact with each other, how technology or technologies can support and optimize those interactions. Solution architect sees how different products and technology fit in the business without really getting to way too deep into low-level details and technicalities, which tend to be a distraction. When you're approaching it from a technical support or a product support perspective, you often lose sight of the bigger picture, and that's why this team exists, because we don't want to lose sight of the bigger picture. Yeah. For that, we come in product agnostic. That's not what our sales guys want to hear, but we do come in product agnostic. And many times we actually say, hey, this particular product that we're considering initially won't work. Here's how it works. Here's why it won't work, or here's how it will work. So we start off with a clean slate, because essentially we want to believe in the vision that we finally deliver. Because face it, this team will own that vision. We'll support you, we'll grow with you. And as I said previously, we want to be part of the team. So whatever solution we come up, we need to actually make sure it works. As goals, essentially, the number one goal is a functioning business. Is it delivering the same or better output as it was before after we implement the solution? Communication between stakeholders. Oftentimes, we become a catalyst for different teams to actually talk to each other and resolve these issues. It's a fresh pair of eyes. A lot of people see the system from their own perspective. And when you bring a third party and an educated third party, it unravels things that probably were not communicated before. There could be contradictions in the system. There could be people overlapping responsibilities or doing double work, which will reveal in that communication. So we're bringing all stakeholders together and kind of come up with a unified vision for where we want to be.
Yeah, really, the solution architects are a lot on the planning phase. So when we think about, how businesses implement new solutions, it's,
Yep.
planning, then managing, and then the implementation. And so kind of, transitioning from that planning phase, we also have dedicated roles for project managers, to where now that we've got that solution built out, and I'll show you an example of kind of this process in a slide a little bit later. But once that solution's built off and everybody agrees and it's been approved, then we really move into the, okay, how do we get this implemented now? And so we have, dedicated project managers who are, the go-tos. They really own that project. They do scheduling. They, assign our service specialists. They do the project kickoff. They're the first ones to make contact with you and set dates and milestones and make sure everyone's on the same page. Other tasks that they do are, regular check-ins, as well as being a point of contact for any escalations as you're working with, that service specialist. If there's changes that need to be made, or, for some reason are unable to get a hold of them, would be another example. That project manager is really, your go-to for that.
Yep.
Finally, we have the service specialists.
Yeah, and it all ties together, because as Andy said, from a planning stage, we come into actually delivery. The solution architect's job is not finished yet, because a solution architect sees the project through its completion and beyond, to make sure that the services we deliver actually match up or map out with the vision, with the grand vision, if you will, that we have concocted, right? Service specialists bring in a ton of experience. What is really unique about this team, and I really like it, is that our service specialists are former PDM and CAD admins. They've done it. They've gone through the trench. They've been to the trenches. They have solved problems, and they kind of predict what can go right and wrong with each one of the implementation specifically. And they've been end users, so they know the pains that the end users go through dealing with the day-to-day processes, right? The process is supposed to be helping the users and not becoming an obstacle in their productivity. We have document managers, former document managers who are now service specialists. So we go beyond the service delivery, just the knowledge that they bring, the expertise, and also a knowledge of the best practices in your specific industry. And that's really crucial. And I want to emphasize that several times, because a lot of customers ask, like, what are others in this similar business are doing? How are they utilizing this? How are they, as this problem occurred before, how are they solving it? And our service specialists, as well as architects, can answer those questions. We not only implement it, but we kind of show you how to stay nimble, stay scalable, but address the problems of today.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like Angel is, mentioned a little lost in the questions. And so for those of you that joined late, kind of the roadmap that we're looking at is we're just, this presentation is really focused around our services and not talking a lot about, our data management products, but more of how you can, the offerings at Hawkridge, how we partner up with you, what the interaction looks like, and how we can help you out with implementations, services, as well as, covering a couple of case studies at the end. So Next one we want to jump into is really, what we do. And, Wasi and I got together a while back and, kind of group these together into a few different categories. One being implementation, integration, custom development, and upgrades. And so talking about implementations, it can really take a lot of forms. We have, several different products that have different sub-products that all have hundreds, if not thousands of features. So which ones are the best fit for you and which ones make the most sense for your business. Obviously, here's a few of the products that we support. For those of you that have been around for a while, you might have heard of Workgroup PDM. That's I think expired in 2017 was the end of life for that one, but it's something that Hawkridge has supported, and so we've been doing this for over 10 years, and I think right now we're over thousands of implementations that we've worked with customers to deliver solutions on, what they needed. So a couple of different approaches that we take with this is one, a lot of times depending on the company, how developed or how complex it is, if they have processes in place, we take a different approach. But over the years, we've recognized some similarities and commonalities between what customers' needs are. And so a lot of times we'll get in engagements where it's, really just like, let's get our files under control. Let's do some revision control and lock down permissions. And that's obviously something that Solidworks PDM can do, but it can do a lot more. And so with those years of experience, we've built out what we call the autopilot, which is a configured kind of out of the box system that has predefined workflows, has predefined data cards. And if that's something where, a lot of times it's we don't know what we don't know, but we know we need to get this done and addressed as soon as possible. This is going to be what can get you off the ground running, just kind of an out of the box implementation for that. Another one would be, more of a custom implementation. Maybe you have, and we'll talk about this stuff when we kind of review some of the case studies. We'll give you some examples. Is if you have processes in place already, or other things are in play that don't fit that autopilot. Then we go through and really bring those solution architects in and do much more of a discovery and a scoping. Here's just a real high level process what we go through, and obviously we're not shy about sharing this. We want everybody to be on the same page. So we go through discovery and scoping, and a lot of times that's more than one meeting. We need to make sure that all stakeholders are in agreement upon what needs to be done and how we're going to do it and what that time frame looks like. As soon as we think that we have a good understanding of it, what we'll do is we'll build out a solution, a proof of concept a lot of times, and show you guys that to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Then we'll put together a statement of work that, we'll all sit down, review that. If we're good with that, then, we move forward, and it gets back to the, project manager, right? Is where that kind of transfers over, and then he works with you guys to do that project kickoff, setting milestones, getting the service specialist involved, and getting everything installed and up and running. If, you get to that point where we're presenting that proof of concept, the solution, the statement of work, and there are any concerns, obviously then we go back to, kind of that discovery and scoping. If there's any confusion there, what is this? What is this? What is this? We wish we could do this type of stuff. Then it's going to be, some other calls, and we're willing to work with you as, long as it takes, really, because we want to make sure that what you get implementing is the best route forward for your company. I know Wasi mentioned it earlier, I'm a huge preacher of the scalability, right? Let's look, 5-10 years in the future, and is this solution something that we can scale up to get to a point where you might grow to or where you're hoping to grow to? Or is it something that we'll have to completely wipe, and start over in 3 years, which is, not ideal for anybody. So this is kind of our general process for any custom implementations, things that don't fit that essentially boilerplate out of the box autopilot. And one other thing that we do, and we kind of keep that process the same, is just general, I like to call them level up services, right? So that could either be if you're having performance issues in PDM, and it could be like SQL maintenance, things like that, right? We'll have an engagement, we'll discuss those things, create a statement of work for that, and get that addressed. That can go fairly quickly. There's other times where companies will have implemented PDM, say 8-10 years ago, right? And every year there's hundreds of enhancements to SolidWorks and PDM. And maybe we could leverage this software for more things that we're doing manually currently, or pain points that you guys are having. And so again, what we try and do is come in and do an assessment, have discussions, talk what makes the most sense, build out that scope, that statement of work that everybody agrees on, and then get all of that scheduled to get the work and get it installed and get it updated. So really what we try and do here is partner with you guys. We're not a point vendor. I try not to outline specific line items up front. We do this. We can do a lot of stuff. We have a lot of depth on our team. So it's really, taking that consultative approach, partnering with you guys, figuring out, what's going to be the best fit for your business, and then how are we going to get that done. Wasa, you want to take this section?
Yeah. So quickly address the very point of this presentation, as Andy mentioned, is we want you to know that there's something beyond this normal technical support services that the vendor has. You don't have to struggle with their PDM questions alone and just kind of say, well, this is the product, and here's the help file, and here's the support line. How do I do this? There's a lot more that we can do and can be done. So feel free to schedule a time with our solution architects so we can just go and look at your system and identify what can be done, how can we enhance it, how can we literally push the software to fit your needs. One of the very important things we do is we actually partner with somebody. We have a wealth of knowledge internally, but we want to make sure that the other solutions are tangentially related, or also compatible with the products we have, or best in the industry, and have been vetted. And we vet our partners quite systematically, and then we introduce them to you. So we actually take ownership of the partners. We vouch for them, and they're best in the industry. Some of the partners that are popular are Gelera. This is our cloud-based solution partner, and as you can see, I've got a bunch of offerings. So if you want to host PDM on the cloud, especially nowadays where remote working is quite popular, with several solutions that are out there, security, virtualization, and whatnot. Data migration is another one of the services that comes often. Levitech is really the leader in the PDM SolidWorks arena, where data are migrated from PLMs to PDM, from other PDM systems to PDM, from your Windows file system to SolidWorks PDM, maintaining history, creating powerful rules engine where we've got revision mapping, data healing, making sure the references are all there, identifying broken references, and duplicate resolution. And finally, one of our recent partners is Razorleaf. They've been around the industry for a long time, and their specialty is PLM implementation and integration. So if you've got need for a product lifecycle management, we want to customize your existing one or integrate it with SolidWorks PDM or SolidWorks CAD services, or we have got other consulting, just basically schedule a time with PLM relating to PLM. Razorleaf is our partner with that. And we work very closely with these partners. We've got personal relationships. And again, one of our solution architects will always be available to oversee, and our project manager will be directly involved to make sure that these services are scoped correctly and delivered on time and correctly.
Yep. Awesome. Moving into kind of the next section here, integration. These next ones are going to go fairly quick, guys. Integration, when we talk about that, a lot of times companies will have existing ERPs, MRPs, or are looking at implementing them. We don't directly offer a solution for those, but we do have solutions to connect those to PDM. So a common example there would be, we'll talk about it more in the case studies, would be pulling part numbers from an ERP. If you have that driving, your business system, you can pull that into, the PDM system. Another one would be custom development. We do custom development in-house. So PDM Professional has a full-blown API. So any type of custom tasks, one example that I've been working on with the team recently has been, creating a CAM part. It's if you're doing any kind of computer-aided manufacturing or CAM, a lot of times you don't want to share that engineering data. And so, kind of a task or a workflow that I've developed is to use the insert part into part, which actually, creates the connection between the engineering file, but creates a unique file that then, if any modifications to that geometry need to be done for manufacturing purposes, the one that I can think of off the top of my head is maybe shrinking it a little bit if you're doing any type of thick anodized plating, right? You might need to offset some of those surfaces a bit in order to account for that plating. That can be done in that CAM part. And so through the API, we can create a custom task that would automatically do that instead of having to manually do that every time. So other common ones are saving other files out, creating PDFs, etc., connecting to other systems. There's a whole bunch of examples there, but that is stuff that if you have an idea, it's something that is, an inefficiency that you guys have identified, a lot of manual work, feel free to reach out and we can chat about that and then brainstorm, would it make sense to automate this to develop a program? What does it cost? Build that ROI out, and that's something that we can work with you on. And then finally, the upgrades. There's, like I said earlier, with hundreds of enhancements every year, you can't help it. That's our job to keep up with that. A lot of our customers have a full-time job and kind of doing the admin stuff on the side, aren't always aware of all that stuff, as well as, any Windows updates or how products play together, etc. And so instead of trying to, take all of that on yourselves, we do upgrades as a service. It's, we do it very, very frequently, so we're aware of, any of the nuances that could come up with different operating systems, different products, etc. So if that's something that you guys would be interested in, ever feel free to reach out. We do it extremely frequently. From here, I guess we kind of like to move into the case studies, and we've just got 3 of them here. Like I said, this is going to be fairly short. So the first one I kind of want to talk about is one that we run across quite a bit. I prefaced it a little bit in the beginning with the autopilot. Is a lot of times they'll come in, I just have a manufacturing job shop here would be a good example, where they have, in that discovery call, we understood they have just a single location. Right now they're working in shared network folders and they don't have any, approval or engineering change process. Maybe they want to get there. We're not really sure yet, but they know right now what they really want to do is get some revision control and get some edit rights, right? Permissions to lock people out if other people are editing them, really build out that audit trail so they can go back and look for it. And so in this case, that's a perfect situation to implement, our autopilot that out of the box, leverages best practices. It has a couple of workflows already built in, which is just get it installed. We'll teach them this is how it works, with the understanding that maybe in a year, we might revisit this and change some of these things. And a year's a long ways out. Could be a couple months, right? But it's just something to get off the ground running. In these situations, what we do too is a lot of companies, don't know what they don't know. The software can do a lot. So in this autopilot, we also have other efficiency gains built into it, you could say. So it's something like, obviously the CAD workflow is a big one, but creating, automatically creating customer project folders. So every time there's a new project, you can just right click and say, create a new project. It'll create a hierarchy, project files, serial numbering. I know when I'm a designer, I'm not clever. I go plate 1, plate 2, bracket 1, 2, 3. Obviously, duplicate names and SolidWorks do not play well together. So serial numbering is definitely something that you can take advantage of with that PDM Professional. And then also handling the permissions. When you set up groups in PDM, you can assign different permissions. per files in certain states? Do they have checkout rights, edit rights? Can they even see those files, etc.? So in this case, this is a perfect situation where that, boilerplate autopilot is just here's what it is, here's how it works. It can be installed and up and running very quickly.
All right, so I know we said 20, 30 minutes. We're on 30-minute mark, so I'll breeze through this just so that we're taking too much of your time. Multi-site industry group manufacturing. I mean, that could be several industries, but really an ERP, which is very common, a cloud-based ERP, which is even more common now, and a PDM that requires to communicate with that ERP. And teams don't work in a vacuum, right? They want to communicate. So the PDM Vault either will communicate the bill of material back to the ERP, get part number from ERP, or both, and that's a quite common of requirement. What we did 3 years ago now is develop our own REST API. For those of you who know a little bit programming, you know what REST APIs are. Essentially, it allows cloud-based systems to communicate with on-premise Solidworks PDM, which is not a cloud-based application. We developed it, and what it did was we powered several websites by our customers that make their websites, their customer-facing websites or company-facing websites or intranets are actually communicating directly with PDM, getting metadata out and in, changing state files from their mobile applications, things like that. And this API actually will be available in 2022. So the Sol system released their own, and we are proud to have pioneered this 3 years ago. And that's another example of we don't really stop at the capabilities of the application. If we need something to be extended or customized, we actually go and build it for the customer. And that's the gist of and the reason for a custom development team or development team in it. So in this case, we have got PDM Professional and custom implementation with cloud deployment. That's Azure or our Julara partners, and RESTful API, our technology platform, plus custom development that connects that REST API to Solidworks PDM.
So again, just an example of how we can mix and match a bunch of those different services to come up with the ideal solution for you guys. Then the last one that I kind of laid out here, and I'll let Wassy talk about the solution, just to preface it a little bit, is a material processing facility where we're doing raw material processing. We're managing all of our own equipment. So we might buy a standard piece of equipment, but in-house we need to modify it for some reason or change it up. We're doing all our own line layout in-house. We have some formal procedures defined, but they're not always followed necessarily.
Yep.
That never happens, right? But we're kind of looking for a way that we can enforce that, how we can get our users, essentially force them to do it. I know me from an engineering standpoint, I would absolutely hate that, but from a business model, that's really what you want your users doing. This specific company implemented PDM, 8 years ago. We kind of talked about that a little bit earlier. So they, I always preach the crawl, walk, run. They might have implemented at that crawl stage and got busy and were never able to come back and progress, how they're leveraging the software, what they're using it for. And so now, they're running into some things that they'd like to use software for to, improve their environment. And that was an engagement that we had with them. So specific desired functionality is, they got multiple BOMs, they're working with vendors. They have a lot of equipment. They're, outsourcing some of it. So some of the bill of material items might need to go to that vendor. Some of it's done in-house. Different variations of that, as well as that process control, is really what they're trying to do. So
yeah, and I mean, advanced BOM management, process control, they all scream Solidworks Manage. If you're not familiar with it, maybe you are. Solidworks Manage is like the next level. PDM, it sits between a PDM and a full-blown PLM, with BOM management, dashboards, reports, project management, things like that. As a way of kind of a background, we developed our own task and project management and dashboard systems several years ago for Solidworks PDM, was called TeamWorks. We came up with the first, and to my knowledge, the only advanced BOM management solution for, or add-on for Solidworks PDM, because we saw there was a gap and there was a need for extending bill of material capabilities of PDM. We came up with our own custom reporting. So when we actually implement Manage, which actually combines a lot of these features, we've got dashboard, we've got project management, advanced BOM management, we don't just know the features. We actually know the requirement, the deep background practices that go with those features. So we are more than implementing, simply implementing, here's Solidworks Manage and here's the feature, we're going to turn it on for you. We can configure it with best practices and knowledge of those areas in mind, because we've dealt with them ourselves. We have defined products. We have interviewed many customers to actually create definition of the products that we already built. We're happy that Solidworks Manage is here now, but that knowledge really helps us implement it to the best of its use.
Absolutely. Well, cool. That's really all we had for you guys today. So, kind of just reviewing the agenda, the topics that we covered. We talked about our team. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more confidence in our ability to deliver and partner with you, and really get you what you need in a streamlined fashion. Having that dedicated enterprise solutions team. Talked about our different service offerings, the approach that we take there in that consultative fashion. Instead of prescribing individual line items, really understanding your business, your goals, your objectives, and then, fitting, as Wase said, what those objectives are to the products instead of, what can the products do. And then wrapped up with a couple of case studies. So, again, appreciate you guys joining today. There will be a survey sent out after this. You should get it via email. We'd appreciate you filling that out. Also, more information, if you guys are curious about this, feel free to reach out to us, your reps, or there's also more information about this on our website. If you have any current problems or want to do some planning, some road mapping, hope we can get in touch and we'll get a plan put together.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good rest of the day.